set up, getting set up. Alright, I think I am now live. Welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. It is hot. It is very hot. So I apologize for the fan noise that may be accompanying me. Got a place in Southern California, which means no AC for me, see. My iPad's telling me 88 right now. Oof. I do have a portable AC, but it's not in my office currently. But I am so much better off than many others here. I live very, 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 very close to the beach and get a nice coastal breeze. It's never quite as hot here as it is, as the temperature is stated for Long Beach. Pretty sweet. I hope everybody out there is staying cool themselves, keeping indoors as much as possible, staying hydrated. That's a big one. Got to keep them fluids in. Well, thank you, 13, for letting me know that I am live, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Oh, I have a dog that apparently is interested. They want in very badly, but I have the door barred this time. Accidentally, it's the fan blocking the door. The dog will just have to suffer. Whew. Still, as you can maybe see from the jar right next to the volcano, right there. That is the GMO weed I've been working on for way too long now. Way too long. But I'm now just about finished. I'm going to be very sad to see it go. Been doing a lot of reviews, so I haven't been doing a lot of flower. Basically, the only time I do flower is when I hang out with you fine folks. Otherwise, when I'm doing weed, it's usually for some kind of review. But when I hang out with you... the exclusion being dabs, which I sometimes do just for funs and shits and giggles, like before bedtime. And maybe during this stream. But so my flower has been going down very slowly, because I don't do it very often, because I do it just with you guys. Otherwise, I'm doing stuff like this cartridge that I'm doing. Or, the reason I'm here is that I'm just finishing a review for a new tincture, Mary's Medicinals. Look for that in the future. Just finished that, so I'm still quite pretty high from that tincture, starting off at a pretty elevated level. That's just to give you an idea of what's going on and why I still have a little bit of GMO wheat left. Beautiful Vibe Dynamic. Hello, Beautiful Vibe Dynamic. Thanks for joining us, and I appreciate the encouragement there. Thank you so much. 13 says, do some moon rocks for us. You know, it's actually been quite some time, 13, since I've done anything branded as moon rocks. There was a time when moon rocks seemed to be a lot more popular. I think what happened, just like with a lot of things, is can't really trademark a weed name, and a lot of products started them calling themselves moon rocks. Basically, it just became an idea of a nugget of weed with some oil and keef and a bunch of goodies sort of slathered on top. And I haven't done that in a while. I thought it was nice. I thought it was like a fun treat, but it never like blew my mind, moon rocks. It wasn't ever like so transcendent that I'm continuing to seek it out. And it always burns a little funny if you're putting it in a pipe because it's coated in oil. Sorry, my nose is all itchy again. Beautiful Vibe Dynamic says, how long have you had that volcano? 10 years. They are reputable and have been around ages. I've had mine for nearly 5, almost 5 years now, Beautiful Vibe Dynamic. And it works just as well today as it did on the day I bought it. I'm actually looking to try to buy something new from Stores and Bickle at some point. But they are more or less, like to try the Mighty or the Crafty, but they are like 7 weeks behind is what I've heard in terms of orders due to the pandemic. So they are in a little bit of trouble at the moment, but I wish them the best because they do make quality products. Hello, King Yeti. Thanks for joining us, man. I'm so glad you could make it to the stream. How are you doing on the opposite end of the country? Woo, excuse me. Last dregs of that back, rough. 420 is almost here. We'll do a dab when 420 arrives. Beautiful Dynamic says, that's so cool. Take a few rips for me. Next bag is totally for you, Beautiful Vibe Dynamic. If you'll excuse me, I'm just going to be gross and blow my nose. Otherwise, I'm just going to be totally fake picking it for a while. Can you develop allergies later in life? Is that a thing? Never had allergies growing up, but I feel like I may have them now. Going outside, did an outside review. Hot as hell, while I'm still a little sweaty. And now I've got this itchy ass nose. Not uncommon. Boring topic. King Yeti says, just waiting on this roast to finish. Oh, you lucky son of a bitch. A roast. Oh my god. Pot roast, I'm guessing. Roast beef. What's the difference? I don't really know. Either way, both delicious. And you get to say, I'm waiting on a roast. Oh, disgusting. Excuse me. Disgusting. Oh, and that tastes like this tincture I'm reviewing, which is very foul tasting. But a roast, holy shit, yes, it always feels so proper, like, and as if it should be accompanied with some trumpeters or something. I can't help but think of roast and think of something of, like, from the Middle Ages. Festivals, banquets. I don't have the capability or know-how of making something as elaborate as a roast. Still working on that whole popcorn thing with the microwave. Once I've got that down, I'm moving on to a big old 2-ingredient thing, and that is frozen pizzas. Once I've mastered those 2 things, I feel like I'll be a full-grown adult. But we're many years from that point, and possibly a couple of burned down kitchens. So, maybe in a couple centuries I'll be at a roast, but please enjoy it for me, King Yeti. You are a lucky son of a gun. BVD. I'm going to steal King Yeti's acronym. It works so well. BVD says, I heard you could develop some usually bad pollen in the air. Well, I did get a little alert from Tim Apple earlier saying that the air quality is not great here today. Believe it or not, living in Los Angeles County, the air quality isn't perfect. And today was especially bad. So there may be some validity to that after all. However, one little sidebar from that is I actually grew up in one of the parts of the country that has the worst air quality anywhere in the United States. And not necessarily because of pollution. Not really. It just wasn't a big enough area for pollution to be that bad. But in the Tennessee Valley, the area that I lived in, East Tennessee, um, all of the pollen from all of the Appalachian Mountains would sort of blow down the mountains and collect in this big giant valley, the valley being where I lived. So there was always the pollen from the mountains flowing down and getting continually trapped there, and leading to like pretty much always unhealthy levels of air quality. Never affected me then though. Never really had allergy problems, but things fall apart, including bodies. Jude, welcome, Jude. So glad you could join us. Jude says, "How are you? How late am I?" Well, Jude, you're only about 10 minutes into the stream. Thank you for joining us, and I am doing well. I hope you are likewise doing just as good. Mad Crypto, welcome. Mad Crypto says, "Get high and touch the sky 420. That means yes, 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 it is, Mad Crypto. Mad Crypto, because you called me out, this one's for you. I know I have a bag to do, and that one will be for BVD, I believe. I don't know why I'm saying these are for people. Who doesn't love an empty gesture, though? Okay, well, let's get this cooking. Yeah. Okay, we are cooked. And now we shall dab. Just about done with this wedding cake batter we've been doing since Monday. I've got about maybe a third of a gram left. Mad Crypto, this is for you. Lovely. Tastes nothing like any wedding cake I've ever had, but still quite nice. Okay. Wow. Well, let me do something real quick. I am back. Thank you for staying tuned for that, everyone. That was a big one. I was proud of myself for almost not coughing, but there it goes. Here we go. So let me get caught up on chat here. Where we at? Jude says, "What happened to the kitchen?" Good question, Jude. Very simply, finally, was out there temporarily while I was setting things up in a more permanent, smaller studio, which is what you see here. Moved out of the temporary arrangement there, and into the more permanent, the temporarily more permanent Wheat studio. I would not call this anything about this situation permanent, but it will at least be with us for several months. Fingers crossed that the world doesn't go to tits up in that time. So the kitchen studio, as it were, is no more. King Yeti says, oh, talking about his roast, chuck roast, a dry pack of ranch, a dry pack of gravy, Worcestershire, beef broth, and pepperoncinis. Oh, and a stick of real butter from the Paula Deen School of Cooking. Yum, 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 yum. That sounds amazing, King Yeti. Your family is a lucky family. Lucky, lucky family. That sounds so good. Shit, dude. I will not pretend that I'm not jealous. The Rhode Island Hiker says, what's up, brother? Hitting off that Dyna vape right now. Well, welcome, Rhode Island Hiker. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're enjoying that Dyna vape. Thanks for tuning in again. Not only is our friend Rhode Island Hiker using that everybody's favorite Dyna vape. I've never tried one. Maybe if my Stores in Bickle never goes through, Dyna vape might get my business. But Rhode Island Hiker, not just doing the Dyna vape, lost complete track of my thought there. Says he is also enjoying himself some already vaped bud oatmeal bars, or in the parlance of, well, no, it's not. The firecrackers are a very distinct thing. So I was going to say those are firecrackers, but no, AVB you can use for anything. You can turn it into butter and then turn it into whatever, or any other kind of substance. Firecrackers, I think, or we can make the claim ourselves. There's no dictionary entry. We'll fight for the term firecracker is to mean specifically graham cracker, AVB, and then some kind of fatty, sweet, butter topping. Butter's the wrong word. Like a peanut butter or even a Nutella, something like that. Toasted, cooked for a little bit. That's a firecracker. That's the true definition. I was wrong. You were just having some AVB oatmeal bars, which sounds pretty delightful, man. I'm hoping they turned out pretty well for you. I've done a lot of things with AVB. I've done a lot of things with AVB, including, and not limited to, the most disgusting thing one can do with AVB. I've done this more than once, and that is the recipe known as grassy pudding. Good old grassy pudding. And that is just taking AVB, finding the pudding with the highest fat content you can find, which is actually, pudding has a surprisingly low amount of fat in it, store-bought, mixing it together and eating it. I have done that. It does work. You will not feel good about yourself, but it saves a lot of time. I've also, of course, I have my AVB in that little Rubbermaid right there from the volcano. That really, really good stuff. And gonna make some edibles out of it as soon as I finish that ounce. I like to run my AVB actually through my Ardent one more time. I don't know for sure if it actually helps. I've tried it both ways, and it seems to actually make some kind of marginal difference. So I do. I take AVB, decarb it one more time officially, and then make my stuff out of it. King Yeti says he's got some family from Murfreesboro. Middle Tennessee, the home of MTSU. While I was at UT, the University of Tennessee, I went to the flagship campus in Knoxville. Weird that's not in Nashville nor Memphis. They do have a campus near Memphis, but it is a satellite. And they have a satellite campus, a big one in Chattanooga, but the main one is in Knoxville. Anyways, while I was at the University of Tennessee, I believe this is true, MTSU eclipsed the University of Tennessee system for being the biggest schooling system in the state. Um, I don't think, though, sorry to any MTSU grads, was particularly, like, renowned, though. Middle Tennessee State University. Go fightin' MTSU, people. The fightin' Murfreesboro-ers. The fightin' MTSUers. The fightin' fighters. I have no idea what they were. Barely remember that our mascot was the Volunteers. Because apparently Tennessee is the volunteer state. A thing we've held on to since the War of 1812. I'm not sure how well that we don't mean to use the that pronoun there. I don't know how well Tennessee still holds up to its legacy of the volunteer state, but they'll still claim themselves as that. Anyways, that was a lot of diatribes there. I hope you enjoyed. Mary. Welcome, Mary. Thanks for joining us. Stephanie, hello. Thanks for joining us as well, Stephanie. Always glad to see you tune in. Mad Crypto says, thanks, bro. I'm smoking with you, referring to the dab I did 10 minutes ago. Sorry, I did some rants since then. Says, talking about wedding cake, do you have a canna wedding? Did I have a canna wedding? No, I did not have a canna wedding. I actually, I'm trying to think. I had just started smoking, I think, that the year that I got married, and very infrequently, like basically smoked for the first time, but did not do it while I was getting married. Although I did get married in an area that is now famous for legal weed. My wife and I flew to Las Vegas. We wanted to do it very cheaply and didn't want to do a big giant thing, so we just flew to Vegas, invited some very close friends and family, and had a wedding out there, but no weed with us. That was many years ago now. 7.5, I think. And I don't think weed was legal, and no, weed was definitely not legal in Nevada yet. It wasn't even legal in Colorado yet, or had it just become legal. The year was 2013? So yes, I think that was the year that weed was legalized. Or is that I can't remember. Jesus, I don't need to be prattling on too much about this. That was just a very quick question that I made into a much longer one. No, didn't have any weed at my wedding. Even though I think I had just started smoking around that point, but not very seriously. Not that anybody was against weed or anything. I mean, more than normal. Grovel, my friend Grovel is here. Welcome, Grovel. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us again, man. Good to see you here after yesterday, too. And King Yeti, while waiting on that roast, is enjoying some ice cream cake shatter. Ooh. So, not just... Ah, man, an ice cream cake. It's been so long since I've had a good Fudgy the Whale. Ice cream. It's been probably a decade since the last time I had some delicious. It's a weird product, but I could go for a Fudgy right now. Not that that's what you're doing. You are doing weed that is nominally, I guess, supposed to taste like ice cream cake, even though ice cream cake is a pretty broad range of tastes. I don't really understand how strains arrive at the names that they arrive at, but I usually am delighted by them, so I don't question it. Luke Grady, welcome back. Luke says, hope you're doing well, my brother. Thanks for the vids. Well, my pleasure, man. Thanks for joining us. Derek Lemire, welcome, man. So good you could join us as well. It's been a bit. How are you doing, man? King Yeti in agreement about Nutella as a weed firecracker substrate. Then we got Joe from Joe R. I've had done this before. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say Jose82 from El Paso. Welcome, man. So glad you could join us again. I'm almost certain you're the same gentleman I know and has hung out with us before. If so, welcome back. Sorry for butchering your name again. Jose82. 13 says, man, I've decarbed herb and mixed it in with peanut butter and scarfed it down. It works. It does. So does pudding. It's gross, and there's this bizarre, for me, like this weird shame in it. It's like, man, that you are just, you're putting no effort into this. This is basement human level stuff. But at the same time, it's like, why spend the tons of time it would take to put that weed, that decarbed weed, into a form that is, to be honest, only going to taste degrees better. It's not going to taste good unless you are really know what the hell you're doing, which I do not. In many cases, I'm probably going to make it even taste worse. So once I do the rationalization, like any good human being, I can just put that little shame monster right back to bed. So that's how I get through it. But I probably am not going to make grassy pudding out of that that great ABV there. So maybe the shame wins after all. King Yeti, be great if every state was an actual volunteer state. Wouldn't it, man? Wouldn't it be great? I guess really depends on what that means. But what do we mean by volunteer, and volunteer for what, and for whom, and for what duration, and under whose guidance, and all that good stuff. But why question that sentiment even? Wouldn't it be great if everybody just volunteered more? Hypocrite myself, as I do not volunteer nearly enough for nearly enough things. Maybe that makes me a true Tennessean. Javier, welcome Javier. Thanks for joining us, man. King Yeti follows it up with, my wife and I paid a justice of the peace $100 and got married guerrilla style at the local park. That's how you do, man. I did it at the courthouse there in Las Vegas. It was it was planned, but as well, you get, I guess the actual thing happened at a courthouse, but we really did also very briefly do like the go to like one of the drive-through stop-in places too, just for sharts and giggles. I mean, there were like 10 of us in total as a party. It was mostly just, and none of us had ever been to Vegas before, and we were a group of young people, all wanted to go to, excuse to finally go to Vegas, and also wanted to get married, so it felt like the right time. Man, also, being married is great. I love being married. Been married for 7.5 years. Never thought as a young man I would have been married. Didn't believe in marriage. Found the idea and institution of marriage pretty backwards. Still do. See earlier comments about hypocrites. It's bizarre to engage in an institution that you find backwards and also find it so pleasant. but maybe not everybody feels that way, and I'm sorry if that is the case. And I'm sorry if you also don't enjoy being married, because I do, man. It's pretty cool. Where are we? Back to Jose82 says, how old are you, bro? I think I am 33. Yes, I am 33 years old. That is a terrifying number. You won't believe how little somebody can accomplish in 33 years here on Earth. A remarkable amount of nothing can get done. That should be the title of my autobiography. A book that no one will read, a remarkable amount of stuffing, a remarkable amount of nothing can get accomplished in 33 years. That would be the title of my autobiography. Self-unpublished. And unwritten, because I'm also lazy. King Yeti says, his ice cream cake shatter does not taste anything like ice cream cake, I think, is what he's saying. Tastes chirpy as fuck. Not ice cream turpy tasting ice cream cake. King Yeti says, I'm 38 and I just got my driver's license, bro. You're doing great. Well, thanks, man. I was mostly just being hyperbolic. I have live a pretty good life. I'm actually pretty lucky individual. Really kind of have it much better than many folks. But that doesn't stop one from being able to be a self-loathing piece of shit from time to time. That's what good comedy is built upon. Is a little dash of self-hatred. In no way saying what I'm doing is comedy, though. But no. Sorry for my rant. Okay. That has gotten really warm in this warm office already. I have to go refill this bag here. Excuse me. I've been really experimenting and trying to figure out what to do on live streams with people and how to facilitate things. I keep running into problems. I have in the past tried streaming games. I've tried other things. But I often run into the problem where technical challenges that are easily surmounted at the beginning of the stream that normally arise and naturally pop up from doing this sort of more involved streaming process of streaming games. The technical problems that'll pop up when I'm good and high, I can't deal with them. I can't worry about all the sources and flipping all the right switches on at time. So I keep not going back to gaming. But I don't know. I would like to do something. Gaming could very well be it if I can figure out some rock solid games that interest people, how to surmount some of the sort of standard technical problems, and then of course just find a game that is both enjoyable to watch, that there is something captivating just by the game itself that can make people compelled, but is not so involved that it takes away from this sort of very just rambly bullshit, I just talk about nothing nature of the live streams that you guys have come to know and begrudge. So yeah, if you can think of anything, or if you think, man, I'd like to see it play some Animal Crossing, I'd like to see it play some Fall Guys, I'd like to see it play some Civilization, I'd like to see it play some Destiny, I don't know, whatever. Like, I have the capability of playing pretty much anything. But also, I am willing to go a different direction. I am willing to do, I would love to do a more traditional, like, talk, showy kind of thing where you could have some people call in and have questions. Still haven't ever set that up because, again, there are quite a bit of things that are involved on the producing end of that stuff. Stuff that I have done and can do when not very high, but gets more challenging in the midst of things, and just usually ends in giving up. So I'm still playing around with what to do with these live streams, and I'm open to any suggestions. And I'm looking for people, if anybody wants to chat themselves, like feels like you have if you have a pet topic, if you have something that you're like fascinated in or interested in, or I don't know, if you have some kind of social media thing you're trying to pitch people on, whatever the topic may be, let me know. I'm maybe interested in pre-setting up some kind of conversation with you, something of that nature. I like talking to people online, and I, believe it or not, much prefer asking people questions than being asked questions. One of my few talents is probably to be a smug son of a bitch. I'm not bad at asking people questions. I'm not bad at it. I can usually find the things that people are interested in and get them talking about those things. And I like doing that. So if there is somebody who has something that they really want to talk about or is interested in talking, just hit me up on something, social media, whatever, and let's talk. So, 13 says, what's been your most pop review video to date? What do you mean by pop review, 13? I'm not sure, I'm not sure what you mean by the phrase pop review. But it is a curious question. If you'll clarify, I'd be happy to answer. And sorry, it probably makes total sense to everybody else, but a little clueless right now. 13 says, see, clueless. Just repeated your question. Jose82 says, my wife Ruth wants to smoke with you. Kick ass. Oh, well, thanks, Ruth. She sounds like a cool lady. Jose82 says, skydiving or scuba diving? Question mark. Is that a question, Jose, if I've ever done any of those things, or if I'm interested in those things, or if that is is that a topic you yourself are interested in? If you're asking if I'm interested or if I've done those things, I have never done either of them. Snorkeled, never scuba dived, never skydived, but have bungee jumped from not very tall place once, but would love to do all of them. Tried to do skydiving with a friend once to help him with a project, believe it or not, but ended up getting scrapped sort of close to last minute due to some like media rights things, so ended up not going. And then aforementioned wedding, talking about the wedding in Vegas, I came very, 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 very close to getting to bungee jumping off the building, the Stratosphere there in Vegas. Big bungee jump there. The bungee jump I had done before, I was like 12, and it was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. tourist trap city close to the Smoky Mountains, like Branson, Missouri. It's like Branson, Missouri, but in East Tennessee. Um, it's where Dollywood is, if you've ever heard of Dollywood. I'm always very surprised by the people who know of Dollywood and are like, of course I know Dollywood. And then the people that are like, what the hell is Dollywood? And I mean that inside of America. It is very fascinating to me how much of a... Either people... Yeah, it's either people are like, what? There's a Dolly Parton theme park in this country? Or, of course there's a Dolly Parton theme park in this country. Dollywood's the 5th largest entertainment destination for families in the United States. How could I not know about it? I don't know if that factoid's actually true. But Dolly Parton does have a large theme park in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And that is where I bungee jumped at the age of like 12. I remember it clearly. It took this big, tall tower, this like wireframe tower. It was probably, I don't know, 10 stories, somewhere between 5 and 10 stories. I have no idea now. 10 stories seems maybe way too tall. Let's say 7, 6, something like that. Get to the top. The guy harnesses you up. You're standing out of the... there's like this little gate that you get harnessed up beforehand. I got harnessed up. Then he opens the gate. He stands behind the gate. You're standing on a platform. And he's like, okay, man. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to count you down on 3, 2, 1. You have to... and on that one, you gotta jump. Otherwise, something. He made something like, something, the tension, blah, 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 made some kind of thing. If you don't jump right then, uh-oh. So he gets the fear of God in you. And I remember this so distinctly. He goes, 3, 2, and then just pulls a lever that I hadn't been noticing and just drops the floor out from beneath you. Having no choice in the matter, bungee jumped at that point. I love that shit. I was a thrill seeker as a child. Not like a daredevil in the riding motorcycles with cigarettes rolled up my short sleeves, but grew up on a river with a lot of dangerous river... like swings into the river, platforms built upon the river, and I was always like the test bed for that stuff, climbing in trees, all that crap. Would love to go skydiving at some point. Scuba diving as well. Done snorkeling. Never been scuba diving though. Would love to. Think scuba diving is pretty cool. It's takes a lot of effort to get a scuba license. It's not particularly easy. I guess it's not, if you want to do it, you can do it, but never had that much desire to make it happen. But would love to do it at some point. Snorkeling's totally cool. But scuba, very neat. Both things, skydiving, scuba diving, all those divings, love them, just haven't done them. Bucket list, I suppose. But I'm not terrified of those things at all. Was never afraid of roller coasters or thrill rides, any of that stuff. 13. Want to know what the most popular video review is? I think it's like the Brass Knuckles review, maybe. Which, I don't know, was done like 2 years ago. Not my finest effort, for sure. All that, I've never anything to be proud about here, but wish something else were more popular than that. But I think that's Brass Knuckles review has the most views, something. It's very, very, very Pareto principle, zip rule, 80-20, sort of stuff with YouTube, my YouTube views for sure. It is crazy Zipfian in its 80/20 distribution, which, if you don't know, is basically just the idea that if you, in any sort of list, if you take a category of things and list them out, and then once the things are listed, you quantify the things in the list. Let's say words in a book, the most commonly used words in a book. That's an example of one. Or anything. I mean, it can. Why am I struggling to come up with so many? Something right now, but it doesn't. In a Pareto principle idea, the idea is that. Let me go back to the book idea. Most things in life are ordered in a Zipfian way, or there are a bunch of ways to describe it, which means that the top 20% or so of I am very high and struggling to describe the 80/20 rule. Let me just do it in the 80/20 rule way, the simplest way, the business way, the Pareto principle way, which says that 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients. Or another one is 80% of your problems will come from 20% of your clients. Now, in a Zipfian way, 80% of all of the words in a book that are 80% of all of the words in a book are going to be a subset of 20% of the total words in that book. Meaning that it usually comes to a ratio of like 2-to-1. So the word used most often in a book is going to be used probably about twice as often as the word used second most often in a book. And then the word second most often will be used as much as third most often, so on and so forth. I don't know why I was talking about Pareto principle, 80/20 rule, Zipfian, all that stuff. I literally cannot remember why. I am sorry. But I was. My apologies. And King Yeti says, I can't skydive or bungee jump. I'll jump off bridges and cliffs into water from 100 feet, though. Weird, huh? A cliff diver. Never jumped at anything from nearly 100 feet. Grew up with the 30-foot plunges into rivers every day during the summer. Never tried anything at that range. That's the range where if you don't know what you're doing, you're liable to end up paralyzed. So glad you're okay. And it is weird, King Yeti, but aren't we all just a bundle of contradictions like that, where we're terrified of skydiving, we're terrified of jumping out of a plane knowing that we've got a big canvas chute strapped to our back that's designed for the specific purpose of letting me land safely, and knowing that the survival rate of skydivers is way higher than that of people who dive into bodies of water from very, 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 very high distances. Yes, it is strange it is weird to have both of those beliefs, but we all do that all the time. That's what it is to be human. Again, we're all just a bunch of contradictions. We are all emboldened by aspects of the things that terrify us from time to time. It's just part of being a person. And be careful with those cliff dives, my friend. Watch the old Nogger. Boy, it was, you don't want to mess those up. Not to get in your head. Keep cliff diving. It's great. It's a fun hobby. And thrilling. And I'm sure quite a good workout. You usually have to work to get to those cliff spots to dive into. Liquidy Filth, or Liquid Filth, says, any thoughts on homemade tincture? Yes, Liquid Filth. I made homemade tincture myself before. I quite like it. That is using tincture from MCT oil is what I use. I've used other oils, but I think that's the best for me. I got the best results with. I have once made tincture using the good old grain alcohol method. I actually still have all of it. I just can't do it. It makes me... The older I get, the harder it gets for me to process alcohol in any amount. Never was particularly good at... liquor always made me feel kind of sick, even in small quantities even years ago. Never much of a drinker. The older I get, the worse it seems. And I'm at the point where the smell of liquor, especially very, very alcohol-y smelling liquor, like grain alcohols, can just turn my stomach immediately. And this tincture that I made was, I put an ounce of pretty low quality weed inside of basically a quart of Everclear, left it in a closet for like 2 months, and it's definitely there. And my guess is it's strong, but I just smell it and my stomach turns, and I can't do the alcohol-based tinctures. So if anybody's in Long Beach and wants a random bottle of green booze, let me know. It's all yours. Jose82 says, where would you prefer to live? Texas or California? It's the question a lot of people are asking themselves. Texans really don't like us Californians moving into your cheap, vast tracts of land. Or so goes the stereotype. Would I prefer to live in Texas or California? No problems with Texas as a place. Well, Texas is just too hot for me. Now I know Texas is a big area and that there are different climates within Texas. I live in California. I know that there are zip codes that neighbor each other's that have different climates here. But I can't do the mostly super very hot, either the very hot and dry or the very hot and humid, both of which Texas presents. Prefer the hot and dry to the hot and humid, but you get both depending where you're at. I prefer the cost of living in Texas, which is why there's been a rush of ex-Californians there. But I love the state of California. I love everything about it. Yes, it is insanely expensive. That is very, very, very true. I don't know if I've ever said this before. Before my wife and I sold our condo here, our mortgage cost less than half of what 2 pieces of property we owned in East Tennessee cost. Those places had yards and multiple bedrooms and bathrooms and not just a condo. So yeah, that's to give you an idea. Now, I guess let me catch up on chat and then I'll admit some things. King Yeti says Dolly is a national treasure. Well, you're from the South. It would be inexcusable, excuse me. King Yeti, if you didn't know of Dollywood's existence, but others, I'm not sure. David, welcome David, says, have you tried any edibles with THC distillates? I prefer them now because no cannabis taste. I think I have had some edibles that are distillate based. But none of them have ever like jumped out at me, and I haven't really remarked. I'm just gonna say no, just to be safe that I haven't, because I don't think I've reviewed any. But I will now be on the lookout, David, and I'll start to consider them more. I've never really even thought about it. I appreciate that. Welcome, Joey. Joey says, good evening. Good evening to yourself. And King Yeti does his cliff diving headfirst in his dualities of man, conquering his unconquerable and intractable fears that remain unconquerable and intractable in other aspects of his life. I don't know why I just narrated all that stuff that doesn't exist. 13 says, I make my own tinctures with moonshine. I bet they're pretty good. I bet they are pretty good. 13, I just couldn't be a satisfied customer, unfortunately, because, I've had moonshine before, and that is some liquor. I come from Rocky Top, where they put your corn in a jar. King Yeti says, enough land in Texas for every family on the planet to have a 1/4 acre plot of land. Okay, so I've heard various different estimates for how much, what that would entail. Is that what I've heard? But yes, I've heard very similar things about if you were to take the population and spread them out geographically and give them a certain amount of personal space, how vast would that distance be? 7.5 billion people with a 1/4 acre in Texas. The rest of the planet turn into farms and nature preserves. Okay. Sure. Fine with me. Could probably do some pretty cool stuff with that in mind. I don't know if that's true, but if it could be done, like physically, I've never done the urban legend search, but I've heard similar things. Man, could you imagine? I guess the only part about Jeff Bezos that is future that I kind of agree with is his idea that one day every human being will live in outer space and the Earth becomes basically one giant nature preserve / vacation destination. Like, everybody just, we move everything to space, industry, people, manufacturing, farming, all of it gets moved to space. This is obviously way off in the future, never is going to happen. And then we let the Earth kind of just give it some time to fix itself, patch itself back up, and turn it into a glorious, beautiful nature preserve and place for people to come visit. Turn certain areas into vacation destinations and let the rest of it run feral again. It's an attractive concept. Again, impossible, impractical, never going to happen. But it is far more likely we could do that than get a colony on Mars anytime soon. It is far more likely we can do that. No matter what Elon Musk tried to tell you. No matter what he says. Later, Grovel. See you, man. Thanks for hanging out. Jose82 says, do I believe in ghosts? I guess it depends on the definition of ghosts. To be a pedantic semantic asshole. No, is the answer very bluntly, I guess, and that's the simple answer. No, don't believe in ghosts, don't believe in spirits, don't believe in an afterlife. Don't believe in much of. Don't really have any spiritual dimensionality to myself. I am not a spiritual person in any way, shape, or form. Not against people being spiritual. By all means, more power to you. It's a great way to live your life. It's a very rewarding way to live your life by all accounts. I just am not a spiritual person in any dimension. So don't believe in ghosts. But I do, as you have, many people have heard on this live stream before, do have some wacky ass views. I'm not above some crazy views, but spiritual ones are largely not included. My beliefs, wacky ass beliefs, sort of more on the nature of reality and the nature of knowing things, the more epistemic, I guess, wackadoodle views. That's where my cockamamie-ness comes in. Because I'm just as crazy as everybody else. Holy shit, not alleging that anybody who's spiritual is crazy. Not at all. Not saying if you believe in ghosts, you're not crazy. No, that's fine. Who is anybody to tell you otherwise? What is expertise? What is science? See epistemic beliefs. Wackadoodle ones. Okay. Dylan, welcome back. Dylan says Jungle Boys Jungle Cake here at 32%. Ooh, then some Green Lime OG from Illinois Dispensary. Ghost OG Cross Lime Skunk at 29%. Working on a lot of stuff there, Dylan. All sounds pretty good. Let's talk about the X real quick. One, I've been seeing a hell of a lot of X's in strains recently. A lot of hybrids getting that little X. What do you guys call the X? Do you call it X? Do you say X? Or do you say cross? I think the first time I ever heard it was in like fighting games when it was like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and it was an X, and people would chastise you and they'd say no, it means cross. So I don't know if that is the same, if that is carried over from video games or not. I don't know. But what should we say about that X? Why has it become so prevalent recently? And is it cross or is it X? Who knows? Dualities of man. Kusari. Welcome, Kusari. Thanks for joining us. Says, what type of movies are you into, Wheats? All of them. Every type of movie. I love them all. I love all genres, all types of movies. Rare exceptions, don't like musicals that much. The only exceptions to that are pretty much musical spoofs, musical parodies. And even then, they are more musical, or like music biopic spoofs and parodies. So I'm thinking Walk Hard and Pop Star, two of my favorite comedies of all times, are nominally musicals and music biopics. I don't really like either of those genres, musicals or biopics. I find most biopics to be hagiographic in nature, so I don't really watch a lot of biopics. Just because I don't think you really, yeah. There are exceptions to that, of course, and then musicals. But outside of that, I love everything. Love all movies. I am a movie. I mean, everybody loves movies. Everybody proclaims to be a big fan of movies. But I really do love movies a lot. It has been very, very, very hard not going to the movies for so long. I lived at movie theaters before this. If you're a long-time Wheats viewer, you know that the majority, probably, of the Wheats reviews that have been shot before and after movies, like a huge percentage of them. I saw everything in theaters. So love everything. Don't I guess my favorite genre would be satires, uh, deeply dark comedies. Probably my favorite genre of movie. Um, Favorite movies, just quick. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Squid and the Whale, Election, um, Adaptation. Those are some of my favorites. Movies, love them all. Recently, finally started watching the Studio Ghibli. Ghibli. I'm sorry. I know I should know how to say it, but I don't. We've got that HBO Max. I know I talked about this before. Holy crap! What a bastard I was for waiting so long to watch them. Holy shit, are they delightful? I think we watched 5 of them now. I'll list them in ascending order of my favorites. Number 5, still really loved it. Porco Rosso, movie about a pig pilot in Italy before the outbreak of World War II. After World War I, before World War II. There's a pilot who's been cursed, turned into a pig. Now he's a pig pilot. It's great. Porco Rosso. Number 4 would be probably shit. What would be number 4? Which one am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one here. I've seen Porco Rosso. Okay, I'm gonna say Porco Rosso. I'm gonna say number 4 is Kiki's Delivery Service. I'm gonna say number 3 is Princess Mononoke. Number 2 is Spirited Away, and number 1, and probably the most controversial, is Ponyo. Man, what an incredible fucking movie, Ponyo. I mean, they're all incredible, including Porco Rosso. Even though it's number 5, it's still incredible. They're all great, but Ponyo, man, makes your heart swell with joy. Spirited Away, just watched on Sunday, my second favorite of them all. Fuck, man, it makes you realize, well, one, all those nerds in high school that were into anime were right, and I feel bad for not having listened to them back then. And 2, boy, American animation is just very, it's not, holy shit, I mean, those Studio Ghibli movies, the animation, it's a different level, it's something entirely different than what we see here, and it is, I mean, there are almost every single frame in Ponyo I could have hung in my home as an art, as a frame, as a work of art. It's that gorgeous. It's true for pretty much all of them. They're all amazing, and they're all, well, Princess Mononoke very much not. Spirited Away probably not. And Porco Rosso, well, no, Porco Rosso is probably fine. But the others are such amazing children's movies. I think they're so much better than anything that is like other than Pixar in terms of kids movies, in terms of giving kids like complex protagonists and more than just loud objects and funny noises. And I think I spoonerismed some words there. Anyways, that was a long answer to your question. But those are the types of movies I've had. Kusari. Carlos, what up? How you doing, Carlos? Thanks for joining us. King Yeti says, you believe in simulation theory? Question mark, question mark. Not necessarily. I do not discount it. I don't find any reason to think that it is impossible. I don't find it so existentially haunting that I can't engage with it. no, there's absolutely nothing about simulation hypothesis that I find out of bounds or couldn't be true. Um, I just think it's more likely that we're Boltzmann brains if you're gonna go the simulation theory hypothesis. But I don't know what any of it matters, anyways. When I am a dyed-in-the-wool determinist, I'm sorry we always come back to this. But when you, like me, believe that in determinism utterly, completely, not the classical sense of determinism, but the, well, there isn't no such thing as quantum determinism, but I'm using that term to mean that there is no such thing as choice or free will, or that there is, there's no such thing as decision making. There's everything that you perceive as consciousness is all just an illusory thing. But I am absolutely determinist in the sense that, like, yes, we live in a quantum world, everything where randomness rules the day, but again, that randomness is still predictably random, and of course, just because things are random does not mean that you have any choice in the matter. It's just that is the path that you fall upon your universe's waveform collapsing in the big stew of things. I do absolutely 100% very firmly believe that to be true. And including all the weird stuff that believes, I don't actually believe in punishment. I don't know how I could if I don't believe that. But I do because I have no choice. Everybody should read. I'm going to do this. You know what? Not this live stream, because I actually have to wrap this one up. Future live stream, I'm going to read, get myself in some copyright trouble for sure. I'm going to read the best science fiction story or short story ever written, and the only true interpretation of the universe, and that's from my boy Ted here. This is the guy who wrote the story that, what's the Arrival, that the Amy Adams movie from 2016, I believe, is based upon one of the greatest, just incredible. This is a short story collection of his. There's a 3-page short story in here that is, I think, the finest science fiction story ever written, and the greatest literary interpretation of the way the universe actually operates. And you know what? I'm just gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna read it live on our next live stream. I'll even plan for it. It'll be fun. We'll just get ourselves in trouble, but we don't monetize this stuff anyways. I actually don't know what happens to you if you read a book on a live stream. What the copyright ramifications of that are. This is a book that, this is one of the few books that survived the move, my most recent move. You can tell it's a good book for me when it is both, when it was physical to begin with, and then when it survives a move. Both of those things usually mean quality. Okay, finishing up chat here before I gotta go. King Yeti suggests that it is cross for the X. Cool, glad to know. Looks like I was saying it correctly. Kusari says, I say crossed, but with that, when I'm texting, I just use X. As do most people. I think it is now becoming common vernacular to say X as cross. It is going to be a thing. Well, it already is. It just will become more widely adopted. How cool is that? Where you guys are privy to the birth of some new literary or English phenomenon. Who knows? How cool. Jose82 says, so what about UFOs? Do I believe that UFOs exist? That is an incredible question. One I cannot believe nobody has ever asked before, and such a fun question. And I'll be very brief with it. Until very, 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 very recently, I would have mostly confidently said um, that while I definitely believe that there is quote unquote life in the out there in the world, I would not have believed that anything like intelligent life would have visited Earth. Um, until very recently, that would have been my very solid, firm opinion. Until pretty much this year, and all of the fucking, well, that's so 2020, of course, this shit is all coming out this year. All of the insane shit that has come out of the Department of Defense, I think I said Department of Defense almost, in the Pentagon, and all the declassified stuff about pilots seeing things, and the pilots, debriefs about the things they've seen. The whole fucking Tom DeLonge, fucking who would have ever, goddamn, what a weird world we live in. If anything, should create instead the simulation hypothesis. It's the world that we currently live in and how absurd it is. But the Tom DeLonge, the former frontman of Blink-182, pushing to get all this stuff declassified, and the government basically saying, yes, all of this stuff that you guys have leaked is true, and then a shruggy emoji after that. Nobody knows what any of that means, that all of these things have been spotted. Nobody knows what it means that the government has been declassifying it. And then, of course, the most mystifying, strangest, weirdest, somebody, oh God, somebody, please. Why hasn't this been explained? I want to know, are the quote-unquote alloys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google space alloys, I don't know. Yeah, you'll find it from reputable sources. Sometime, somewhere, the government, the U.S. government, which they have admitted on the record, our U.S. government, this is a real thing that they have said and continue to say, have found these metals from sites of unknown origin that they cannot identify. These metals that they don't know, that they, using our best lab equipment, do not know what they are, and cannot, and some of the phrasing that has come out about them seems very, 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 just, I mean, alluring to somebody who, wants all this stuff to be true, but it's just so strange. Properties that seem like they shouldn't maybe even be possible. That is not a urban legend. That is not I'm not a crazy person telling you this. That is very much real. These are revelations that have all come out like within the past year, and if the world weren't so fucking crazy, it probably would be bigger news. But people understandably have more important things to worry about. But for me, it's been very vexing, incredibly vexing, and really, really, really getting that curiosity going, Reb. But still, I would say I do not believe that we have been there's not been a extraterrestrial intelligence has visited us. I don't think. As far as we could even perceive it. I do think if we're talking about true alien intelligences, ones that could find us, we may not be dealing with intelligences that we could even necessarily comprehend. Because any life that would ever find us, heads up, is not going to be biological. We don't know of any biological structures that could endure what it would take. There are no biological structures that we know of, combined with the literal physical limits of travel, of like the speed of light and shit, to make biological life traveling between stars feasible. It's much more likely that any life that we would ever find would be artificial in nature. Probes and such. I'm not saying alien, mega AIs. Not saying it's not possible, but, Anyways, okay. That is going to do it. I got to go. King Yeti says, what do you think of the Wizard of Oz to the Key? I'm not sure, King Yeti. We'll table that for next time. I really do intend to read this. It's going to be fun. Kusari says, the studio that makes Ponyo. Ponyo is their favorite of all time. Kusari, yes, Kusari. Ooh, dog. Love you too, Jose. Luna, take care. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out.